Hey there, folks. This is Forrest with AlphaGrad, and this is Tech News Today. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you haven't joined us before, welcome. Uh, what this generally is we take a few different articles that we've seen over the last week or even just today that we thought were pretty urgent and pressing that we really wanted to cover. We're really tackling basically three articles, and what I would advise to anybody is definitely subscribe to any tech feed that you can. Make sure that you're staying informed, make sure that you're up to date on what's going on, especially in your field. So, if you're a network engineer or a cybersecurity analyst, make sure that you're really going for those feeds that are relevant to you. Um, what we're really tackling today, we have a few different topics. So, one is first and foremost, it's based around an HDD, some new technology that's actually coming to improve, and it's looking like it might be 100 terabyte HDDs within the next 10 years. Now, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. No, I'm kidding. It's a pretty cool thing, but there are some pros and cons that we'll go ahead and cover. As well, we're going to cover a feature that was detected in Apple's newest beta for their iOS. Now, we're basically covering this one because of my co-admin Foz doesn't have to deal with Apple enough, and I thought it would just be fun to throw that in there. But no, I mean, I think it's a fun little topic to discuss, especially because the next topic after it is going to be Microsoft. These guys keep on getting hammered, and we're going to discuss what the newest attack vector was for them. So again, I appreciate you guys joining in, and let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so first and foremost, like I mentioned, we have that 100 terabyte HDD, and it's looking like it's going to be coming out potentially in 2030 if everything lines up. Now, there are, of course, some pros and cons with it, but as this article really goes on and tells you, they're looking to really get that point to where it's the 50 terabyte hard drives by 2026, so within the next 5 years, and really the 100 terabyte HDDs by 2030. Now, this company specifically, Seagate, has been absolutely fantastic. They're working with a lot of different companies and really testing out all of their features as much as they can. I'll go ahead and link this article just because it is quite a read, but just a high level sort of pros with it is this is a massive storage space here. This could be a game changer for a lot of companies if they're looking for instance, really getting a bulk price for maybe, I'd say, cut down to, let's say, 20 different hard drives instead of having to order 200. This is something that could really change the game. Now, if you have 100 terabytes of data as a personal user, you might need to already be revisiting what you're storing. But as an enterprise, this is a pretty amazing sort of thing to be watching for. Now, again, this is within the next 10 years. It's not like this is some pipe dream that people aren't too sure about or what's going on with it. This could be within the next 10 years. And with their current capabilities, it's looking like it's highly likely projected to happen. And of course, it does mean that the read and write speeds are improving with the increased areal density. Now, for those of you that don't know what the areal density is, it's basically the measure of the quantity of the information bytes that can be stored. So, again, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and link the article, but it's definitely something really cool that does have some cons to it. Now, one thing I did want to mention, and this is, again, more geared towards enterprises, the IOPS per terabyte, uh, which is the input-output per second per terabyte, it would be dropping. Now, unless Seagate comes out with a plan and says, hey, this is what we're going to do to mitigate this, that's going to be on data centers that will have to mitigate it. Again, this really isn't going to be something that you're seeing shipping into new laptops or new desktops. This is something that's more intended for the enterprise, for the data centers. So if Seagate does not come up with a solution, this is going to fall heavily back to the enterprises to figure out on their own, which is a bit sucky, honestly. But, again, this is 10 years out, and we very well could be seeing some solutions that Seagate offers as remediation. All right, from here, we do have a fun new feature that Apple is looking to do. And like everything Apple, they're pairing it up with a physical device that they'll probably charge an arm and a leg for. So this new feature in iOS 14.5, which is in beta, is more or less intending users if they're being tracked. Now, here's the bad part about this title. It really misleads what's going on. So it's not as if it's something to where, you're giving your data to an app and the app is tracking you or something like that. This is actually a really cool take on a NAN, a near me area network similarity. Which really is ambiguous about your broadcast domain or what Wi-Fi you're connected to or anything like that. It's looking for what's near you. So this feature is going to be used with Apple's rumored AirTags if they come out with them, which is more or less similar to like the Square Find Your Key thing. You can put it on your luggage, whatever else it may be. Now, what's really cool is Apple's already thinking ahead of how can we mitigate some of the security concerns that someone could use this maliciously, that you could be tracked without even knowing it. Let's say, you're carrying your purse and someone slips this into your purse. Apple's already thinking ahead of this. They're saying, okay, you know what? We're going to alert users based on from their iPhone if an unknown item, quote unquote, which essentially means an AirTag that's not registered to your ID, is found near you or tracking you, really. This could potentially cause issues, for instance, let's say you have a family of, or let's say, you're out with a friend and both of you have this on your keys and you both put your keys on a table. Well, you're probably going to get spammed with item safety alerts, quote unquote. Now, you can opt out and turn these alerts off, which could be a good thing for that time, but you might want to remember afterwards to go ahead and re-enable this because you could be tracked otherwise. Now, one thing that I would want to point out as a con for this is that in the very nature of how Apple is doing this with AirTags, that kind of invalidates a lot of the Android users. So, yes, it's great that Apple wants to alert anyone with their iPhone and Find My app and everything like that. But what happens to those users that are being tracked that have, that AirTag slipped in their purse or in their car or whatever and have an Android? How do they get alerted? And they don't. So I'm hoping that we'll see Apple go ahead and really cross the borders with Google, with Microsoft, and a few other industry giants there, and really figure out what can be the best way going forward. But I think it's a really awesome idea. I think it's commendable that Apple's already thinking ahead, and I'm hoping that they will end up crossing that bridge, as I mentioned, with those Androids or any of those hardly existent Windows phones out there anymore. So, from here, this is the real fun one, mostly because I'm a cybersecurity nerd, and this is my bread and butter, basically. Microsoft, again, had an exploit that they just had to patch that hit at least 30,000 organizations across the United States. So, the big pro that I can pull out of this article is that it's been reported, a patch was released on March the 2nd, and that it's known to the United States government and other governments as well. The cons, it's the cons are everything about it. The factor that it happened in the first place, the factor that it's a Chinese cyber espionage unit that's really focused on stealing email, basically, from organizations, and the factor that even though a patch was released, the damage is already done because of how that attack vector is going on. So let me just elaborate a little bit on that, on what exactly occurred in this attack. So essentially what had occurred is that you had it to where there was an exploit found in a Microsoft Exchange server. Basically ones from 2013 to 2019. And they were using it to siphon email communications from internet-facing systems running Exchange. Great. Awesome. Fantastic. This was a little bit unpredicted because, we really weren't seeing this beforehand. But the issue is, and again, this is why this patch it's great for the organizations not hit, but for those organizations that were hit, it didn't really change anything because the group that was conducting this attack left behind a web shell, which is basically a password-protected hacking tool that can be accessed over the internet from any browser. So, even if you uninstall Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and only use, Onion browser, it can still be accessed. And it gives the attackers administrative access to the victim's computer servers, which is not a good thing. Essentially, as I mentioned, it's known about. The United States is actually working with it. CISA is working with it, with Microsoft there, and various other governments and security companies and everything else. But these guys are not catching a break. They've been used as an attack vector over and over and over and over and over again. And, at some point you do have to ask, okay, what's going on with the security at this point? Why are we not detecting this prior to finding all of these attack vectors? So, I think it's going to be really interesting to see what we see from Microsoft and their vulnerabilities over the next few months or all of 2021, really. But this definitely isn't a good thing. It shouldn't be something that happened in the first place. And, we're hoping, of course, that we won't be seeing a lot more vulnerabilities like that. Well, folks, those were the 3 articles that we thought were the most impactful for the last week. And I apologize for the lack of this video series lately. Unfortunately, I did have COVID over the month of February. I'm definitely getting better, but I would not recommend it. 0 out of 10 if you're wondering for it. But either way, we're going to be working a lot more diligently to be bringing these meaningful and impactful videos to you. And, if there's any topics that you want us to cover a bit better, let us know. More than happy to. But outside of that, this is Forrest with AlphaGrad signing out. Have a great day, folks.